Come in.
Hi, Jerry.
Yes, it's actually Gary.
Gary, I'm sorry. Victoria
Oh,
Guido
Gary
from
with a
Gardner.
G.
Oh, perfect. Here's my business card.
Thank you.
May I take a seat?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to finally put a face to the name.
Yes.
So nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you as well.
So, I just wanted to thank you again. I know that Shannon had mentioned that we have 20 minutes today for the meeting. Does that still work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So because we weren't able to get into contact before, I went ahead and looked into your background a little bit so I could know a little bit more about who I was meeting with today.
Okay.
And I saw you went to UGA.
I did indeed.
That's very exciting. I had to go to Athens, Georgia during Hurricane Irma.
It's a cool town, right?
It is very cool. Yeah, I loved being able to walk around.
Maybe not during that time. It was very busy.
It was very busy, but at least it wasn't the Tallahassee area. I needed to get out. So I went there, and the thing that stood out to me the most was the Georgia arches.
Yeah.
They were so interesting to me, and so I asked what they represented. And everybody said that you couldn't walk under them until you graduated from college because they were supposed to elicit signs of determination and persistence. That really reminded me of what I do at Gardner, and it reminded me of what an arch really does represent. I don't know if you know, but in architecture, arches are the most elegant, but also the strongest structures in architecture. But if one thing is wrong about the arch, gravity will take over and it crumbles.
Okay.
I find that with a lot of the companies that I've met with, something might just be not as strong, and so the arch isn't as strong as it possibly could be.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I wanted to arrange our meeting today, to see if we could go through and figure out how to make your arch even stronger than it already is.
Very clever.
Does that work for you?
It does.
All right, great. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I wanted to ask first a couple of questions about your role here and kind of what this new transition into the position has been like. So you've only been here for a couple of months. Tell me how it's going.
It's been going. Yeah, it's a good role. So I've, as far as like the structure of the job, I'm very comfortable in my shoes. It's just different challenges for different companies, and our challenges as it stands right now, as far as our goals are concerned, is to improve our MRP system. So that's been really my focus for the first 2 months, is really getting a basis for what we're looking for and trying to match that with current available software systems.
Okay, great. And do you have a set of managers that are under you?
I do. I have 3 that work directly for me.
Okay.
And they have a total of 12 reports amongst them, not necessarily split evenly, but yeah.
Okay, and so is that your main team, the 3 managers that work under you?
Yes.
Okay, and as far as budgeting, what does your budget for this next year look like?
For this next year, or for the MRP program?
I guess more specifically for the MRP program, if that's more so what your main goal is.
That is number one on the plate.
Okay, so what does that budget look like?
They have allocated $700,000 to the project. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so in making decisions about this MRP system, how do you go about doing that?
As far as what companies, or what do you mean?
Any of the criteria involved. So what companies you look into, how you make that final decision.
I look for companies first and foremost that I can trust. So reputation in the marketplace, that type of stuff. Companies that align with our goals. Our mission, is to let our customers focus on what they do best, and we'll kind of take care of the rest.
Right.
So, try to find companies that align with that type of that type of mindset. So focus on what you guys are good at.
Right.
And let us do what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay, perfect.
And then,
Okay, and in regards to making the decisions themselves, is it primarily you?
Yeah, I have full autonomy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, perfect. Just making sure that no one else needs to be in this meeting with us today.
I appreciate that.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back to this MRP system a little bit. Could you tell me why that's the number one goal right now?
My predecessor held this role for 35 years.
Okay.
And about 20 years ago, he implemented the MRP system that we have now. Prior to that, it was all paper.
Okay.
So we are on AS400, and we have patches that that patch in, say, like order entry, or AS400 is order entry, purchase order entry, and then accounts payables.
Okay.
Right. So all very important material planning. So it's cumbersome, right? So you've got 3 different systems. You got to flip between screens to do different functions. The patches don't always work very well.
Right.
It takes a lot of time. There's no access to it outside of our network, so you know, it's very inefficient when somebody actually does get an order. Obviously, want to figure out the material for that order to make sure we have it available. And we lose them because they can't do it in the field. So it has to be brought inside to one of our outbound reps that then enters the order, processes the purchase order. And
it's a long process.
It is. It's very time consuming.
Especially with having 11 different locations and 600 employees. That's a lot of like outsourcing and trying to do a lot of processes at once.
It's a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so where are you going to try and find these new MRP systems?
Honestly, it's the first time I've had to implement a new MRP system.
Okay. Your previous roles didn't require this?
It didn't. So my IT focus was, I'll say a little more focused internally as far as, making sure hardware was up to date, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Had a lot of big programs like that, but this is the first time I've had to implement a new MRP system. So, not scared of it. So I just kind of dug right in and started researching on my own. Honestly, Google has been a big asset for me.
Google.
And has guided me along the way to find Oracle, NES, and NetSuite.
Okay.
Are kind of the 3 front runners right now for me.
Okay, great. And you brought up research and Googling. Are the 3 managers under you responsible for any of those tasks, or have you kind of taken that on?
I've taken that role on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how time consuming has this role been?
It's been pretty time consuming. So research has not just been on finding the software, but also talking to the team members to determine what it is exactly they need. So that is something that my team members have been tasked with. Is to speak with all their team members and their mid-level managers to speak with their direct reports. So overall is to get a consensus across the entire company as far as what we need, and then my goal is to go match that with a software system that will meet those needs.
Okay, and what are some of the expectations that the rest of your executive team have given to you?
I mean, the big ones are cloud-based. The big ones are all-in-one, and something that integrates some sort of CRM system. So those are kind of the big 3.
Okay, and in finding this big MRP system, obviously contracts are involved. So how do you go about negotiating contracts?
They submit their contract bids, and I review them to the best of my knowledge. I don't have a lot of history with contract negotiation.
Okay.
And then we hand it off to legal to take a look at it to make sure we're not walking into some sort of trap.
Okay. And what does your legal team entail?
What do you mean?
Like, is there a team set internally?
Yeah, we have an internal legal system.
Okay. And you mentioned that you haven't really had to have a lot of experience with contracts in your previous roles. Why is that?
It just wasn't part of my lexicon. I just didn't. I didn't talk contracts, so it was my job to find them, and then it was handed off to somebody else to do that. This company doesn't necessarily have that. So they're really looking to me to make the right decision.
Okay. And do you have to submit any sort of budget or any other goal sets to the rest of your executive team?
I just have to keep it within the budget they've allocated to me.
Okay.
As best I can.
Which is the $700,000.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So also in going through this Googling process, how do you even start the process?
MRP.
Right. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Wow. So how has that been for you so far?
I mean, it's got me 3 decent candidates, I think.
Right. You mentioned Oracle, NetSuite, and NES.
NES. Yeah.
Right.
I think they're the right fit. I don't really know for sure.
Okay. So what's going to be that deciding factor for you?
For me, never having done it before, I guess I don't really know.
Okay. All right,
so kind of figuring that part out.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part to figure out, especially when you haven't had to experience this type of research before. So I know that we've covered a lot of different ground today, and so I want to kind of show you the areas of our arch now and how it's changed. So we mentioned that you are looking for an MRP system, that you need to keep it within a budget of $700,000. But going through that research is very cumbersome at this point because you're just typing in that MRP and seeing what's going to come up. And especially now with these 3 candidates, you don't really know how to make that final decision. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and then also you mentioned that the contract review is something that you haven't really had a lot of experience working with, but you do have that legal team working under you. But what would happen if, say, there was a mistake found in a contract afterwards? How do you think that would affect your company?
I mean, if I got us into a situation that was not favorable for the company, especially if the system wasn't working well, or something like that, it would for sure cost me my job.
Okay, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot bigger than budget.
That's
your job, exactly. So that's a huge factor. We also talked about how you do have this team under you, but you're doing all of this research on your own. So I've seen that these are areas of improvement for a lot of different companies that I've met with, because especially when companies are taking on large projects, these are all areas that they need to embark on.
Mm-hmm. So
if I was able to show you some sort of a presentation that hit on a lot of these topics that we covered today, would you be interested in looking at it?
I would. I'm a little bit concerned. So
talk to me.
Yeah,
well, let me know.
The CIO world, it's a tight knit group.
Right.
Times can be a bit of an echo chamber and also a rumor mill. I'm not, necessarily proud of that, but it's just a reality of the situation.
Right.
And there's one rumor that I'm having a hard time getting over that I would definitely like you to address.
Okay, lay it on me.
Is that you guys were recently sued for fraud.
Okay. Could you elaborate on the extent of what you've heard so I can better clarify it for you?
Sure. So my understanding was that you guys were making claims that you couldn't necessarily fulfill, but on a contractual basis. So you promised somebody in the contract that you could do X, you delivered Y, and there was a delta of Z that they were not really happy with.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And I know that has been brought up in the past, and that was a couple years ago, and so of course it's still a factor that's very important and something that we are trying to recover from. But as a result of those actions, things have really changed in Gardner, which is why I wanted to go ahead and bring a testimonial for you today from Laird Plastics.
Okay.
Someone in your industry, someone that perhaps has been a trusted customer,
well.
Of course. So I brought a testimonial from them that proves that they've worked with me as well as my Gardner team, showing the results that they've received, showing that they went through the process with me, and that they really did take all the products that I offered them as a CIO.
Okay.
And so I wanted to bring this and leave it with you to kind of alleviate some of that concern if possible, because I know it's one in that rumor mill that has been going around. So Mark Kramer seems to think that Gardner has bounced back from it and has a strong backbone now, so I'll leave that with you.
Okay.
Does that alleviate some of that concern? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable?
It does, and I appreciate you just taking ownership of it.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody makes mistakes, and as long as you guys are learning from it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're a company too, so our arch, if you will, hasn't always been as strong as it could be, so we're trying to make those changes as well.
Good.
All right, so I'll leave that with you. Do you feel comfortable moving forward?
I do.
Okay, great. So I have put together a little presentation for you.
Okay.
And since we are technology-based, I figured why not just bring in an iPad. So to just touch on a little bit what Gardner is, I know you've heard a little bit about us, but we don't sell technology. I know that's a common misconception.
Okay.
We sell solutions. So,
right.
You mentioned that you do have 3 front runners, Oracle, NetSuite, and NES. We would figure out which one of those would be the best solution for you to go forward with, because we don't pair with any companies directly. In fact, I also brought an article from ZDNet, which is an IT technology site that reviews different tech companies, and they wrote a review on Gartner talking about our unbiased situation in the IT industry, because we just sell solutions. So whether that's Oracle, great. So that's a little bit about who we are, but also what we do. So we have over 1,200 analysts and almost 1,400 researchers that their primary job is to go in and do that type of research that you're trying to do to find that MRP system. So let's figure out how you would find that MRP system. So could you do me a favor and click on research? Hopefully the Wi-Fi acts well with me today. Okay, perfect. So say you were sitting down and you needed to just figure out some MRP systems. Could you click on Learn More? Great. So this will bring you to our three main methodologies, which will help you make that decision. So one of the first steps in figuring out, which technology to really go in, you mentioned Oracle. I also brought along an article with me today that talks about Oracle's place in Gartner. They're listed as a leader in our Magic Quadrant, which basically means that their technologies and what they're looking to accomplish has been paired up with other companies in the industry, and you're able to see that in a graphical representation.
Okay.
So you would able to see where Oracle lied or where NetSuite lied or NES, specifically in these different markets.
How long did it take you to learn all this?
So it didn't take me that long. If you look at this is the Gartner website, and it's very straightforward. The very top, it says research. But could you elaborate as to why you think that's a concern? Do you think it would take your team a long time?
Well, it just seems like a lot, and really more concerned about me. Would take me.
So what specifically seems like a lot? I'd love to break it down.
There's a lot of information there. I guess just in general, how long did it take you to learn how to navigate what all the different processes do?
Right. So if I'm being completely honest, it took me about a week to really navigate the website effectively.
Okay.
And
what about understand it?
Understand it, 2 weeks tops. Because here's the thing. So let's break it down even more. When we're doing research, we're looking for the who, what, when in the industry, correct? So that's what these tools are. It's the who, the what, and the when.
Okay.
So if you break it down like that, it's a little bit simpler. The Magic Quadrant is just showing you the who.
Okay.
That's it. And if you go to the next one, which is our critical capabilities, this is showing you the what.
Okay.
So say you're looking for your MRP system. You mentioned that it needs to be cloud-based, correct?
That's correct.
Is that one of the main focuses of your MRP system?
It's one fundamental aspect of it.
A fundamental aspect. Okay, so great. So say you're able to type in to this best fit model and say it needs to be cloud-based. This model allows you to pair up with other companies that have that cloud-based feature,
okay,
so you can see which one is the best fit to choose. That's your what.
Okay.
And lastly, you need the when, because that's the most important part, really, in making that final decision.
Okay.
The when is our hype cycle. So just like we've seen tablets go up and down in popularity, and iPhones, do I choose the 8, do I choose the X? The hype cycle shows you when to do that.
Okay.
Do you think if you were able to see when you should make a decision, you'd be able to choose better between those three companies?
Yeah, and, I think buying at the right time too could probably save us some money. So.
Right, and how do you think the rest of your executive team would feel about that?
I mean, if it kept it under budget, that would be good.
And would that give you more credibility in your new role?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, great. So since you brought up money, let's talk about it a little bit more. So we have this awesome tool called the IT budget tool. I know that you said that you need to keep things under budget,
okay,
and you eventually are going to have to show something to your executive team to prove that you did that.
Right.
This IT budget tool allows you to do just that. It is your justification.
Okay.
You're able to enter in everything that you did buy or spend money on, show it to your executive team, and then they know what you did.
Okay.
It's a comparison summary, so you're able to compare according to other industries in the market, but ultimately this is your justification of costs.
Okay.
And we do that, so that alleviates time.
Simple.
How do you feel like you'd be able to transfer some time over?
So my understanding is that it's $50,000 for myself and my direct reports total, which doesn't seem too bad.
Right. So is it the price that concerns you? Because I'd love to go into that a little bit.
Well, I just want to make sure there's no other hidden costs.
Okay, great. So there's no other hidden costs, exactly, but I wanted to get into the contract review because I want you to really see how you're going to be getting that money back tenfold. So say you brought up contracts. Average contract, say it's about $1 million. Gartner has been known to save at minimum 10% on those contract reviews. So say you save 10% on that one contract, you're saving $100,000, paying $50,000 for a program that goes your entire year. Could you see how that could be helpful?
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Can we follow up and set something up?
Definitely.
All right, awesome. Well, Jerry, how about next Monday at 2?
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
That works for you?
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate your time as well.
Thank you.
Take care.